paranormal,
ghosts,
spirits,
demons,
reincarnation,
past lives,
the afterlife,
divination,
exorcisms,
witchcraft.
the unseen.
He's psychic medium Chris George.
And he's Victor the Voice Furman.
We are Second Sight Radio.
Paranormal,
ghosts,
spirits,
demons,
reincarnation,
past lives,
the afterlife,
divination,
exorcisms,
witchcraft.
the unseen.
He's psychic medium Chris George.
And he's Victor the Voice Furman.
We are Second Sight Radio.
We have an amazing guest, and I cannot wait to interview her. Victor, I want to know, what did you think about guest this week, Kate Seances? I thought she was pretty awesome.
Kate Seances is wonderful. She's the author of the book, The Mindfulness Habit, 6 weeks to creating the habit of being present. And quite frankly, Chris, this is something that I've been working on for the last 35 years, mindfulness and being in the present. And this week it came in handy because, as a lot of our listeners know, I had that little heart challenge going on. I'm glad to say that it's under control right now, thanks to my own actions and the actions of people who do wonderful healing work, like you, my brother, and my brother Don Belawa, and the wonderful sorceress Cagliostro. All of you actually were working on me independently, and I can say that I'm feeling a lot better, and I'm grateful and indebted to you guys forever, as always. For the love and the healing energy that you sent my way. So Kate Seances, The Mindfulness Habit, if you haven't gotten a chance to get her book, please go out and get that book.
Well, first I want to say that working on you is a full-time job. But I don't mind. I don't mind, and you don't ever have to thank me. You are one of my closest friends in the world, and if I can't help you, who can? So you've done, so much for me over the years, and you know what? To give, you got to, to take, you got to give. So I will always give healing energy to you, my son. Let's get on with a couple of the. Oh, by the way, let me just get back to our guest from last week. I thought she was really, really cool, and I don't know if you noticed it, but she was flirting with me, Victor.
Yes, all the women flirt with you.
I mean, what?
Let me rephrase that. All the women under the age of 50 flirt with you, and all the women over the age of 50 flirt with me.
That's right.
We have plenty to share.
We have all the bases covered, Victor.
Absolutely.
All right, so we have a few celebrity birthdays, and we have Dolly Parton, Janis Joplin, who I absolutely love, George Burns, Steve Perry, Sam Cooke, awesome singer, Ernest Borgnine, John Belushi, Neil Diamond, who, believe it or not, and I'm almost embarrassed to admit this, because he's one of my favorite singers of all time. Alicia Keys and Eddie James, who's also another amazing singer. We have my third of the week. You can't move forward in life if you're constantly looking behind you at the past. The past teaches us lessons to learn, and then we must move on. That's my fourth for the week. Now, Victor, why don't you introduce our amazing guest for the show?
Well, Chris, when someone mentions the name Hans Holzer, it conjures up memories of the original ghost hunter, the father of just not paranormal investigation, but paranormal science and inquiries into the natures of ghosts, spirits, and the other side. This coming Monday would have been his 95th birthday, and to honor his memory and legacy, we are honored and privileged to be joined this evening by his daughter, Alexandra Holzer. Alexandra has been described as a neo-pulp writer, an author and scientific paranormal researcher, with her career including the fine arts and advertising. Following in her father's footsteps, she writes for different organizations, including the Huffington Post, Canada's UFO Digest, and the Old Times. Her fresh journalistic approach has been described as having a don't-hold-back feel and openness, welcoming all types of stories. She grew up haunted and therefore has never known anything else. Please join me in welcoming Alexandra Holzer. Good evening, Alexandra.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
We are absolutely wonderful. And just a little technical thing, I do not have your picture resolved. I'm not sure. You may want to click it off and click it on again to get your video established.
Okay, so I click on the camera icon?
You click on the camera. There you go. Now that's your picture. Now click it again, and let's see if we can get your video image. And it's going round and round and round.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah, it's not loading for some reason. I guess we're going to just have to do it the other way for now and just have a picture up there.
Yeah, if you click back, you'll have your photo, and you'll just enjoy that. There you go. Okay.
Oh. Well, it's still like, now it shows me on there, but I don't see the two of you.
That's interesting. It might be your connection. It might be. When you go back to your single photo, does it show us?
I see your numbers on there, and I see Victor. I see your photo.
Okay, a photo or face? Live, I mean, or video or a photo?
It just says profile photo.
Okay. So for some reason, you're not getting the video feed. I'm not sure why.
I don't know. I've done it so many times before. It really works. Are you guys cursed?
No.
Okay, we just got a message from Larry. I only have Chris on video.
I'm both cursed.
That's Larry, our video guy.
How you doing, Larry?
I'm testing the
Yes, I've got the circle here on both her and Victor.
That's strange. I'm going to close mine out and put that on again.
Yeah, it's your fault, not mine.
That's always my fault. Larry, you got me now?
No, I don't see you. This is Clairaudient.
No, sir, I don't.
You know what? You know what? It's Mercury retrograde. We're going to live with it just the way it is and get on with this wonderful interview because we only have Alexandra till 9:30 tonight, and I promised her we'd get her off promptly. So, Chris, why don't you kick it off?
Well, I just want to say, I told Alexandra a story of us meeting years ago, and I'd just like to share real quickly with our listeners. We have a mutual friend, and for the life of me, I can't remember who it is. I believe it's, I don't know. I don't remember who she is, but she hooked me up with Alexandra because this is right before her dad. Her dad was very sick at the time, and they asked me to come in and do some hands-on healing with him. And I was so nervous because meeting Hans Holzer for the first time. I mean, that's crazy to me, And I went there, and Alexandra was so nice to me, and I worked with her dad, and he signed a copy of my book, Ghost, and he wrote to me, which I'll never forget, it's one of my prized possessions. He wrote to me, and again, you have to think, he had no idea who I was, and he wrote to the man who truly sees, and he didn't know that I was a psychic medium or anything like that, but he knew, and he wrote that in my book, and it's one of my prized possessions, and I just want to thank you, Alexandra, for allowing me into your home to work on your dad. That was a huge part of my life right there.
Well, that's very lovely, and thank you for saying that. My father really was not pretentious in that manner. He was not aware of the impact he had on the fields for physical research and many other areas of subject matter, and he did not have a chip on his shoulder. And so when somebody appreciated his work or had questions about the field, he would just let them come on in. And that's just the way it was with him, So I grew up, I was very used to having all sorts of people come over, and I thought, wow, we have such a big family because there's like 1 million people that come over every year. I didn't know.
And part of that extended family, not me directly, but through my wife. My wife had interviewed your dad back in 1998 for the the Spirit magazine. I can't remember the name now. I'm having a senior moment. Which later became New York Spirit. And they did a wonderful interview with him, which is all over the place. If you click on his name and her name, the interview appears like in 1,000 different places. And through her, I got to know about him, and I'm grateful for that knowledge also.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And we have mutual friends.
We do. It's funny. We're just talking about Judith, and Judith writes for Owen Times like I do, and I know the editors very well, so it's really kind of a funny little circle that we're all kind of coming in.
We're all related somehow here along the line here, I think.
Scary thought.
It's a scary
Well, it's the ghost that my father chased.
I'll tell you, there's a few relatives I'd like to get rid of, but that's a whole other story.
Well, as the godfather of psychic mediums, Chris, you can make that happen, too.
I can make that happen.
Absolutely.
You know what? I'm going through a nice phase the last few months, so I won't whack anybody this month. I don't know.
Give me a reading, man. Go ahead.
Say that again? Give you a reading?
You need to give me a reading. Yeah, that'd be good.
I'll tell you what. You have my word. Anytime you are ready for a reading, I will gladly give you a reading. It'll be an honor.
Awesome.
So let's get on with this interview. I want to know, how did your father first become interested in the paranormal?
Well, he was a very little boy living in Austria, which is where he was from. And around the age of 5 in kindergarten, back then in Europe, school was different with the grades and stuff. I guess you can relate it to kindergarten. And he would start telling ghost stories to his classmates. And the teacher got wind of this and called up his father, my grandpa Leo, and said, Hans cannot come back to class tomorrow if he tells any more ghost stories. We cannot have that. And it just kind of came out of nowhere. My father just had this imagination of, just knowing that there was something else going on, and whether his house was haunted, I don't know. But my grandfather had a talk with him, and, it kind of went from there, you see. And then his uncle, Henry, used to tell my father, as he was a little bit older, he was still a boy, but he's a few years older than kindergarten, about fairies, and that fairies exist. And my father started writing stories, and my uncle, Henry, got him to get published for the first time in Europe about some of his supernatural tales. So that's kind of where it began. It was almost like he was born into it.
Wow.
Oh, interesting. Very interesting.
It's interesting. I mentioned that my wife, Lori Sue, had interviewed your father in 1998 for Free Spirit magazine. And one of the questions she asked was about what he believed. And his response was something that I truly resonate with. He says, I don't believe in anything. He said, belief is the uncritical acceptance of something you can't prove. I work on evidence. I either know or I don't know. There are 3 dirty words in my vocabulary: belief, disbelief, and supernatural.
Yep.
They don't exist. There's no supernatural world. Everything that exists is natural, and that's something that both Chris and I subscribe to and adhere to. So that being said, how did his understanding of the disincarnate develop, and how did he differentiate between ghosts, spirits, and what he referred to as stay-behinds?
Right. Well, basically, when we talk about the field of the paranormal, it is natural, hence why we don't say supernatural. He basically, during his research, his predecessors before him, like Carrington and Fodder and so forth, everybody was very scientific, and anybody who was psychic was separate, you see. So he was very frustrated at that and felt that although he was a skeptic journalist first and foremost when he was a young man that came to the States, when he came over, started investigating and asking, got ghost stories from people. And he felt that at that point there was a difference between spirit and ghost, and what is a ghost. And through his research and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases and conversations with people that weren't even documented, learned that what we become when we don't cross over and we're stuck in an environment for whatever the reason, whether you're on a highway or in a home or a forest, that's a ghost because it means you're stuck. But a spirit, we have the term free spirit. It means you're free to come and go. And so he had to correlate the difference between the two, and he had to define everything and break it out, which is why he was the modern pioneer, is because he started to write about the differences between what a ghost is, we think of Casper and, ooh, scary Casper ghost pops out, but what is that? It is what we once were, but we can't cross over. And what does crossing over mean? And what is the afterlife? And what is spirit? So that's where that all kind of began, and he needed to define for himself that there was a difference and a correlation between when we separate our soul from our body, which is just a vessel. We do go somewhere, however, sometimes we're stuck. And so I always say, ghost, you're stuck like a ghost, and you're free like a spirit. There was the third part to that. What was the third part?
It was the, what do you call it, the stay behind.
Stay behind.
Right. Okay, so the stay behinds essentially are pretty much the same thing as a ghost. They don't feel to cross. They've been guided to cross. They choose not to. And that is a respect factor that he always gave, and which I do in my investigations, is, listen, if you're not going to want to leave because this is your home and you're still looking for something, I can't make you, just like in life. I can't make somebody do something to better themselves when I can see it, and there's nothing I can do. I can work on them, but I'm not going to make them do what they need to do. It's the same thing with the stay behind. They have the guides that come. They have family. They have all of it. They have us that come in, and try to cross them, but the stay behind is just going to kind of put their nose up at you and say, nope, not going. Nope. And they kind of, it's residual. It's almost like they just are going to be in the time and space that they once occupied that we still occupy.
Well, Alexander, do you share your father's understandings, and have they evolved or changed with your experiences?
I completely follow the Holzer method. I teach it, and I have created a group called The Hunt with Holzer based on that. But the difference is that I'm a woman. And what does that mean? It means, as an intuitive, not that all women are intuitive and all men aren't or whatever, it's not a gender thing, but I happen to be, he wasn't when he came around in this field, and he was never an intuitive until later on in life. I always was. And as a woman, I have a different perspective on things. I handle things differently. And I think I carry on what he did, and still does because he's still there. And he had a message for everybody, which was, I'm still alive, end quote, FYI. He wants to know I am still alive.
That's awesome.
Yep. Basically, I feel that it's the technology kind of interferes with the methods. Do you know what I mean? So I'm very aware of the new technology that's out today. Some of it I like, some of it I don't. For instance, dowsing rods, I think of cow prods. I don't know why. Why? What is that? But I have a respect. I do not put anything down. I just have an opinion like him. I do continue his methods. They are, listen, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's right.
Yeah. So.
Absolutely. What are the messages, just as long as you touched upon the subject, what are the messages have you gotten from them?
Oh, my gosh.
I was going to ask the same thing, Victor.
Well, you must be psychic, Chris.
I must be.
He must be. 3 days after he passed, I had a dream of him, and I didn't ask for it. I was grieving. I wasn't even at that point in the field of physical research at that time. I was nowhere where I am now with the awareness and the mindfulness of what we're doing and why we're here. And, he showed me something very significant where I already received the image, and I knew exactly what he was showing me, and I made that connection. And so from that point on, I had done some recordings. I started to use a device that I completely was against, did not believe in, called the Spirit Box. And I connected with a Florida team via the phone. They asked, do you want to join in the session? It might be interesting. I said, okay. He had passed a few months. And the SOB came through. I was like, what am I doing with this? And, of course, his name was announced. Hans Holzer is here. You can't make this stuff up. It's an MP3.
Oh.
You can't edit the stuff. How these the box works.
Randomizer, absolutely. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was. And the fact that every single time thereafter, over the past several years, that I go on location for an event, and I'm with a group, and they have their devices out, and it can be any type of spirit box. It doesn't matter. Some are better than others, but he comes through. He gets announced by an angel guide, or spirit guide, if you will. He goes, Hans is here. He enters the room, because there's the other spirits around that want to have your ear in that haunted environment, if you will, right? They're all clamming to talk to you. And he's right there, and we start communicating. And everything's recorded. And, and I just sit there, and I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. So we're using electronics. We're using energy. It's all electrical. That's what we become. That's what we are living. That's what we are in passing. It makes perfect sense theoretically.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you mentioned the ghost box or the Frank box, and I like it. I've had some amazing results with it. I'm just curious. What are your thoughts on the Ovilus? And I'm just curious about that because I think it's a ridiculous toy more than anything else.
I had one experience with an Ovilus, and I kind of felt like the communication wasn't very good. It would spit out words, and I'm just sitting there like, well, I wasn't impressed. And I've never used it since. I'm really not a fan of it. Now, of course, I have an app on my phone that does that under the same name. And I'll tell you something. When I use it, and in certain situations, things come out that make sense to the person sitting across the room from me that I can't make that up. So, there's again, you're manipulating the environment and the energy and the instrument. I think it doesn't matter how you do it. If it's electronic, if it's electrical, it's all going to come through with spirit. It just sounds silly, but it's exactly what they're doing. They're manipulating the environment that they can to communicate with you. So I do believe in the obvious, but the app, for me anyway, works.
I'm just wondering if it's the fact that you're an empath, that someone who's either a psychic or an empath who works with the energy to begin with, then uses this device, sort of enhances the energy and allows it to come through.
Well, of course, because listen, if you're not open, you're not open. And listen, it doesn't stop them from being around you to kind of say, hey, hello, who, I'm here. You have to be open to receive, and I do agree with you. I think the more open we are, and the deeper we feel, and the more mindful we are, we will be able to make those connections and certainly help the people that are sitting there looking, who are closed off, who do want to believe. And that's the whole point, and that we're able to deliver the messages and say, listen, this is real. How could I know this? From any kind of a device, I think there's no one major thing where we can say, well, this is it, this is the end all be all, this device does it all. There isn't anything that can tap you into the other side where you can have a conversation like the three of us are having now. We're not there yet. But we have bits and pieces like a puzzle, and we put it together, and that's what we do. And there's many devices that can do that.
We're kind of sidetracking because we really want you to go down this path at this point in the interview, but just out of curiosity, which devices, if any, do you find to be effective?
Well, obviously the Ghost Box, and basically a really good digital camera and recorder.
That's it. I think that's all I think those are the three most important things.
That's it, and yourself is...
And yourself.
Yourself is number one, absolutely.
Yeah.
What about the EMF meters?
Please. The microwave goes off, the thing goes crazy. You think you have 10 ghosts in the room. Like, you're kidding me? I'm like, we're having a party. There's 10 ghosts. The thing went off the thing. Yeah, I don't think so.
I assume you don't like the little flashlights that they sort of suddenly turn on and off, right?
That's a scam.
You know what you do with those things? Put 100 of them on me in a triangle shape. I am a Christmas tree.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. And probably an outstanding Christmas tree at that.
I would think so.
So, Alexander, your father said that sometimes those who pass traumatically go into a form of psychosis that reflects in the way they manifest. Have you experienced that?
Where they manifest?
In other words, the presentation is that of psychotic presentation, and maybe sometimes people confuse that with negative entities.
Mm-hmm. Not really. I haven't come across any of that yet. I think that what I've noticed is the environment with the history. If it's a dark history, like let's say slavery down south, if it's something where you're in a prison and it's horrible men that kill people, I think that in itself creates a manifestation just based on the history of the place and the theory that when you walk into that environment, guess what's going to happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think it's more of a projection of information that the brain deciphers prior to having a chance to spiritually and intuitively figure out what would manifest from that and what would be happening and what's real and what's not real. So I think there's a lot of psychosis going on there prior to.
Yeah, and I agree with that. You know, when I went to Eastern State Penitentiary, everybody told me how evil it was and the evil energy and blah, blah, blah. I'll tell you what. You know, I went there with the Maury show, and we did the big investigation and whatnot.
Oh,
and,
that's it.
I would have loved it because there was a famous psychic there with us, but he wasn't very good between you and I. The whole thing was I didn't get a sense that it was evil, and that was the preconceived notion going in, that it was evil. You know what it was? It was sad. It was so sad. I heard cries and moans and stuff like that. It wasn't evil. It was sad. And the funny thing is, you know, the other psychic that was there was saying, "Oh my God, there's such evil energy here." And I looked at him. I wanted to say, "You know what? You're a fool. I mean, obviously, you're not very good at what you do, because it's absolutely not evil. It's just overwhelmingly sad." And you know, you go in there thinking that it's evil, and that's what it is to you, I guess.
I agree. I mean, I think, especially with Eastern states, because it's almost like, you know, I mean, it's a prison, so we're automatically putting that out there. We're saying, I mean, listen, you know the history. You got Al Capone's cell, which I sat in. I got yelled at.
Well,
Chris got slapped.
I know. I got yelled at. I got to listen to this, Alexandra. I'll tell you a great story about that. I was in there with the Maury show, and I was going to bring, I'm a big cigar smoker, and I was going to bring a nice cigar to him, and I forgot it on my table. So on the way to Eastern State, we stopped at the bodega, and I got a little Philly blunt that cost me $1.25. I was embarrassed for myself to even bring it there. When we got it, I'm not lying to you. We get into the cell, and we do this whole EVP session, and I put the cigar on his desk, because he has a desk in there, and we say, "Do you know what Chris brought you?" And a clear say EVP, it says, "Yes, it's cheap." It's actually cheap.
Just like Alex.
I was so embarrassed, and they aired this on the Maury Public Show. It was horrible.
Did he also say disgraziata?
He didn't call me a disgraziato, no, but he did call me cheap.
A lot of good Italian words we could be using. Let me tell you. Oh my
You better believe it.
We need to do something. I don't know, just hit my brain with this.
I would love to. Alexandra, you name it, we'll do it. I'll tell you what. Victor and I will be doing a pay-per-view investigation at the Shanley Hotel. I'm not sure when, maybe April. We would love for you to come and be our guest.
Take me.
You're there.
Take me.
Fantastic. Look at me. I'm doing the happy dance.
Take me. I'm telling you. Second generation. Let me tell you. I do follow my father's footsteps, and he follows mine.
Very good. Very good. Alexandra, I'm going to try and reboot your cam from my location, because it's dropping in and out. So give me a sec. And Chris, while I'm doing this, why don't you talk about some of the things that you were going to talk about later on? Stand by.
What was I going to talk about later on? Well, actually, what I wanted to bring up was how I got that email from a listener who isn't on Facebook. I don't know him.
We can do that on Church's Second Sight?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't we hold up, because I got Alexandra back. Alexandra, why don't you just stay with the photo for now?
I'm right here.
There you go. Okay, because I think it's better. Can you see Chris and myself?
One I can and one I can't. Do you want me to hit start video to see what happens?
Yeah, hit start video and see what happens again.
Okay. Mine is spinning, and I can see myself right now talking.
Okay, we can't see you. It might be your connection. Okay. All right. You might be better off just going into photo mode.
You want me to go into photo mode?
Yeah. And do you see Chris? A guy with, like, really...
Chris. No, he's still spinning. You're spinning, but I see your photo.
You see a picture of me glowing in the dark, right?
Correct.
Okay,
good.
good.
See a photo of him.
Okay. All right, no problem. It must be the Skype connection tonight. That's what it is. It's just
I'm sure it is. Yeah, because I've done this a million times, and it's always been pretty successful. I don't know why, but...
Now Chris is spinning. Chris, you're spinning. Don't get to the...
I don't know what's going here.
You got to have an exorcist excerpt in that one. Come on now.
Here we go.
Well, Alexandra, you probably don't know this, but that's what I do. I've done over 90 exorcisms all over the world, and Victor is now, for the past, I would say, 3 years, my right-hand man when we do them.
I love that. I mean, I don't, but it's creepy, but I love it because it's creepy.
It's actually what I love to do. It's actually, other than teaching, it's what I love to do more than anything. So, well, we could talk about that another time. But let's get back to you. You know, your father also reported that 75 to 80% of reported paranormal phenomena is replays from the past rather than actual spirits. How did he come up with this determination?
Well, because basically, the reality is there's which comes out to grade A haunting. You know, a lot of what we do when we die is all circumstantial, so it's dependent on where we were, what happened, and if we knew it was coming. the residual haunting, the residual effect of we're replaying out the same scenarios as if we were living is based on the fact that we can't cross, we're not aware, we're not listening to the guys to come pull us over, and so we're just kind of walking back and forth in the room we used to sit at 4 o'clock every day and have a cup of tea and leave. And, you know, those types of residuals are very harmless to the next homeowners because one set doesn't know the other set exists. Now, if you're living and you're resident in a home that's haunted and you have a residual ghost doing their thing at 4 o'clock every day, you might know it, but they're not noticing you. They're not there to hurt you. They're not there. They don't even acknowledge you. They're still living in the same time and place and space, whenever that was. So he dissected all of that, and again, he broke it down. He broke everything down. So this is what this means in this particular moment. This is what that means in that particular moment. It wasn't just this whole glump of, you know, okay, this is a ghost, that's it, we're done, demons, good night, you know. That's what made him so amazing and a pioneer is because he was able to intelligently see that there is a difference on how we die, how we live. This dictates a lot of that as well. And what happens in those circumstances. Now, each death can be different. And there's reasons for that. And then there's layers through the veil, which he always said that, you know, with you know, there's no heaven, no hell, but there are layers. And you don't get out of it alive or dead, that you're still put to work on the other side as well. So there's like a hierarchy. You see what I'm saying? It just keeps going. Mm-hmm. It doesn't end.
And what happens on the other side? You say put to work. What kind of work is it?
Well, he came up with, you know, the beings of light, and he said that what that is, beings of light, for him, and I don't know where the term came from for him. He might have been given that term from them, you see, and wrote about that in his books, that once we lose our body and we're able to cross, we become beings of light. We don't say angels, we don't say this or that, we just say we're beings of light because we're really made up of energy. What is energy? You know, energy is this bright light. We talk about aura, we talk about crossover to the light. You know what I mean? It's all energy, though. The sun, energy, it's all energy.
Which can either be created or destroyed, but changes from form to form.
Exactly, and so do we. We can be. We are created. We are destroyed at some point in life. Then death is destruction of what we were. Just how we go depends. And then we just manifest from that point. But he said that there was these different levels of where we end up. So if we're able to cross the other side, that depending on how we lived our life prior, we end up over here or over there. And we get a life review. And the life review is like watching like a black and white movie film, he would say. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you're shown all the things you did great and the little things you did wrong. And, you know, and you're just kind of, and then it helps you go back and help the ones that you left and maybe be a guide for them. But you have to get permission. And according to my father, there was this hierarchy where the higher up you went, the more things you were able to accomplish, but that everybody was assigned to other souls to help them on Earth and to do good. So.
You know, that's interesting because through my seances, Victor, I've had spirit pretty much say exactly the same thing.
Yep.
I really should actually get it from my ex-wife, all my videos from the seances. There's so much stuff on there. Just what Alexander's saying right now, I actually have that on film while doing the seance. I should publish those things. What do you think?
I agree with you 100%, yeah. Get it all together, make it as part of your book presentation. So, you know,
that's a good idea.
Just want to say that you're listening to Second Sight Radio on the DTMLiquidRadio.com, video simulcast on TeslaWolfMedia.com. Our wonderful guest tonight, Alexandra Holzer. Alexandra, let our listeners know how they can find out more about you, what you do, and your ghost cow books.
Sure. I have my website is my name, alexandraholzer.com. I'm also on Facebook, so they can just look under Alexandra Holzer. And the same thing on, I call it the Twitter. You can find me under the same name. And all the book information is on the website. It's on every bookseller and retailer that we have around the world. And Ghost Gal is based off of my father and I. In the 1960s, based in Manhattan, running around as father-daughter duo and other interesting things. And it's very, very, it's a great book. It's very fantasy-oriented, but it's based on fiction, non-fiction, which is my father and I, but we're just kind of close our age at that point. I wasn't born in the 60s, so there you go.
Wait a minute. Say that again now. Say come back.
Well, the book is set in 1960s in Manhattan.
I was going to say it couldn't have been back in the 60s.
No, I was born in 71.
Okay.
But our head writer, Bobby Nash, we all kind of collaborated, and the publisher, Michael Hudson, basically we just said, well, we're just going to put you two closer in age and put you back in a time in Manhattan where we're just so, cool. So we had a great time back then.
Very nice.
So, Alexander, I tried funding you on Facebook, but you have too many friends, so you're going to have to delete at least one person. Okay, it's me.
Now that I know, you have to actually write me and say, hey, delete me.
You got it. I'm going to do that.
So you say, you write her and say, hey, what's the matter you?
What's the matter you?
Very good.
Yeah, Victor, you take the next question.
I certainly will. Alexandra, psychics or trance mediums were an important part of your father's investigations. Do you agree that they should play a necessary role?
Absolutely.
I'm loving this girl, Victor. I'm loving her.
Stop flirting, Chris. Stop it. Stop it.
It's the under 50 age.
That's it.
That's what it is.
So I know. Every investigation should have either a trance medium, clairvoyant medium, psychic medium, whatever their talents are, on the case, because that is part of the whole method. That is part of a well-balanced and well-rounded way to get data and to find out what's going on.
Now, just to follow up on that, your father was so science-based. How did he get past the contradiction that most scientists would say involved using psychic mediums and the like?
Right. Well, he was originally a scientific, a skeptic journalist, and he was scientific and active, a.k.a. academic, had his professorship, got his Ph.D., taught at NYC in Manhattan for 8 years. So that all leads in that direction. But it wasn't until into his work and research which birthed the Holter method, because he said, well, you see something I don't doesn't mean you don't know what's not there. And so, therefore, he embraced it. He never put that down. He never, as we say, poo-pooed it. He said, listen, you're another tool. I wish I could do that.
Now, was his teaching at NYT, was that the first paranormal class ever offered?
I don't know. I honestly wouldn't know. I would have to call them and ask, and I don't even know if they would remember. I don't know.
You know what year it was?
Oh, my gosh. I want to say probably sometime in the late 70s into the early 80s, because he taught for 8 years there.
Okay.
And I would have to say it was probably one of the first things offered at the time in parapsychology, because he was really the it guy, and he had already a lot of visibility, if you will. So I can imagine. And more so in Europe, I think it would have been more normal, but not in the States, I don't believe.
Right. The only thing that probably was before him in this regard was the work that J.B. Ryan did down at Duke University. I think that would probably be the only thing prior to your father's work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, of course, he was a member of their institution as well, and he had gone down there and visited them, the museum, I guess, now, but it's still an institution. I mean, just like with Eileen Garrett, who was the famous Irish medium who got my father to write the first book, Ghost Hunter. Her great-granddaughter and I are friends, Colette, and the Garrett Foundation Flash Museum is still around, and it moved from New York to Long Island, which is still New York, and that's still going, and it has a library of everything on mediumship and psychics and so forth in the paranormal. So,
it's interesting in terms of lineage. You talk about your lineage with your dad. My grandparents on my father's side were both from Austria, and my first conscious experience of disembodied spirit, I was 7 years old and living in my parents' apartment in Brooklyn, and I was very close to my grandfather. He was much older. I was very young. My father was older than my mother, and I was very young at the time. And he was older, and he addressed me in life as if I were a peer, as if I was someone who understood him. He was very much a mystic. And I'm sitting in my room in my parents' apartment, 7 years old, and all of a sudden I see my grandfather standing in front of me with a big smile on his face. Mm-hmm. And he lingers for a couple of seconds, and then he fades away. And I went into the living room, and I said to my mother and father, Grandpa was just here. And he said, that's your overactive imagination again. And a couple of minutes later, the phone rang, and it was my grandmother saying my grandfather had passed. So that lineage goes down. It's really, and my daughter was born open and gifted, so I think it's really something that runs in families.
It is genetic. It's just like anything. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's unique in my family as well. It was on my father's side of the family. My mother's side, not so much, but on my dad's side, everybody seems to be psychic.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go on now. In your book, Growing Up Haunted, you share your experience as the daughter of the world's foremost paranormal investigator. When you were first aware of his work, and when were you first aware of his work, and what did he share with you on the early years?
Well, I was a few years old, and I was aware that things were very different in the apartment growing up and having people over. I knew I knew what I knew, so I guess for me it was normal, if you will. I think that the difference came out in grade school when all the kids had, fathers that went to work with shirt and ties, and my father's night out for an office party was at the Witches Ball in Manhattan. What the heck is this? That kind of gave it away. So I kind of knew that there was a difference in that respect. And then growing up in that environment, my mother's mother was very psychic. And she married the Count of Russia, Count Alexander Buxovinan. So there's all this bizarre stuff crossing over, you know what I mean? And she always had things happen to her. People would sit on her after they died, and she'd tell me, and I'm just like, really? Wow. But that's kind of how it all really began.
Wow. And when did you go on your first investigation with him?
I didn't go with him because he was much older than me, and he didn't want me with him, you see.
Okay.
He was basically in charge of everything. Hans was, it's my way or the highway, and he's like, you do it, what I say, you don't come, I don't need this, what? I said, I'm leaving. So, we had more, our research was based on living room sit-downs, if you will, over bad coffee that he made, not me. Putting it out there. Smack me, I know it. We would have a lot of intelligent conversations about being a psychic and what does that mean, and what's the big deal. Oh, I know you were psychic. What's the big deal? I'm like, but Daddy, it freaks me out. He never thought anything was a big deal. He always thought it was so normal and natural. But when to the layman, even though it's his daughter, to the layman, it's got to be broken down, explained. And so he had a very hard time explaining everything. I went to my grandmother to explain it to me. But we had a lot of intelligent conversations. We had the famous orb debate, which I used to tell the story over the past years, where I had started taking psychic photography, and in the orbs are faces, and that whole thing, it's almost like you find a potato chip, you take a dump of it, And I'm like, oh my God, I'm in one of those. But I really did start to see things in my own home, and it's just, I couldn't deny it anymore. There's something happening, and it's very different. And he's like, what is this? This list is stuff, is nothing. Daddy, I'm telling you, I'm onto something. That's right.
Chris, we got to invite her to the next party. She's coming to the next party.
You know what? Well, the next big party is my 4th of July Festivus party.
Right.
So,
Festivus, oh yeah.
Yeah, they're doing Festivus in July, so you're more than, I would love for you to come. We have the biggest party. I've invited all of Facebook on New Year's Eve. I might have had 1 or 2 shots of moonshine too many, and I made a video, and I invited everybody that I know on Facebook to my house for the 4th of July Festivus extravaganza. So you're more than welcome to come.
I would love to. Where is this in Manhattan, you said?
No, in Staten Island, and we have the best parties ever.
All right, yeah. I'll go. I have a conference July 24th. I'm actually going to Erie, PA. So whenever you do it, it better not be then.
No, it's the 4th of July. On the 4th of July.
Okay.
So, Alexander, your father was a famous bibliophile, and for those who don't know, that's someone who loves and collects books.
Yeah.
And your home must have been filled with thousands and thousands of books. He also authored more than 120 books. What was it like sharing a home with an incredibly prolific reader and writer?
Boring.
I saw the books, just so you know.
Okay.
And there were countless books in that house.
Yeah. I got them now, thank you. I've inherited them. They're sitting in boxes. Where am I going to put them? My God, When he's wallpaper, put on Hans Holz's books he collected. Yeah, it. You know what it was? It made me feel very smart. You know, almost like, I know that it's a silly thing to say, but there was so much on the subject matter, ranging from spiritual healing, Reiki, Tai Chi, sexual positions between adults. I can't, don't even go there. Anyway, he was crazy.
Nice.
Yeah. Down to your basic ghost, UFOs, witches, demons, blah, blah, blah.
Well, he had a copy of the Kama Sutra, right? Basically.
Yes, he did.
The
Yes.
Kama Sutra, that's all.
Yes, he did.
That's
And
good.
he was out there. Mm-hmm. And but it was really a nice thing to grow up having a library ensconced around you, because and there was art. Don't forget, my mother was an artist and an art collector as well. So we had a lot of nice mixed media surrounding us in the literary sense. I felt very well rounded that way. You know. So.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to York Preparatory, where Robert Chambers was the murderer.
Oh, lovely.
Nice.
Yes, great. Happy to have me on tonight.
Oh, that's great. You're a ball. This is great.
Yeah, Rob Chambers was the Jennifer Levine murder, and he was too great for both. He's a beautiful man. What a shame. And it was a very preppy school, completely not for me, obviously, but my parents felt, in Manhattan, that's what you had to do. Because back then, the public schools were not very good.
Right.
They really weren't in the late 70s and 80s. So it was just like you had to either go to private or cross your fingers and you do well in public. So
Robert Chambers had killer looks, huh?
yes, such a great fun. Yes. He must have been dead. But that's creepy, So.
I just want to take one step back. The question we asked before this was, when did you go on your first investigation? I just want to say, I have 3 kids that live here in New York, and my little guy is 9. I've been taking him on investigations with me since he's 6 years old.
Oh, wow.
Okay? Yeah, and I got to say, if you do it, if you teach them the right way, I don't think it's a problem. Okay, and I taught my son the right way. I put pictures up on Facebook of me and him investigating the cemetery or the Shanley Hotel. I took him to the Shanley Hotel with me, which was pretty cool. I'm not the Shanley, the Kreischer Mansion, I'm sorry. And I've had people actually say that I'm a horrible father for taking my son on an investigation. And, especially, I feel like for me, I can't understand why they would think that. If I'm showing them the right way, I'm not, doing anything disrespectful, like a lot of these paranormal investigators do. And I don't get why somebody would think that, just because the kid is 6, he's 9 now, and he's fantastic at investigating, by the way, why they would think it was such a big thing if you're teaching them the right way. Can either of you answer that?
Alexandra?
Yeah, I think, there's a lot, I think, and I hate to say it, a lot of the cable shows don't help that are out there, because there's a lot of, there's this whole thing with dangers of the paranormal. With mediumship, it's not the same thing. You're first of all, we don't evoke spirits and demons and ghosts, and we don't go after them and say, come on, come out and get me.
Right.
That's not what you're doing. What we're doing is we're trying to teach a form of using our sixth sense, which we all have the ability for, which is innate in us, to be more sensitive to our surroundings, which makes us a better person. And for children, especially my own, they all know, what I do, who I am, and who my father was and is. But it's healthy because it's part of life. If you go through life and the children don't comprehend, first of all, what the parents do in this field is important, that they understand, whether they agree or not, at least they have a comprehension of what the meaning is. You're trying to connect with the spirit, you're trying to help. So, I think basically at this point, it has to be accepted and understood. It's like we're not living in the day and age where we need to cover their ears. I think there's a lot of bad stuff and worse things in TV and film than going on an investigation as a medium and understanding the surrounding environment and feeling your environment and what does that mean to you and knowing that you're safe.
Well, you say you have children, so I want to know, have you taken them on investigations?
I haven't, just because there's no reason for it right now. A lot of what I'm doing is for me to continue my father's work, and I have to be focused. If I have them with me, I can't focus.
Okay.
I have to focus on them. But and the thing that I've learned about myself is that when I do events, and I'm in groups and things like that, if I don't segregate out who does what, I get lost in the shuffle, and then I don't know what my role is, because I can be pulled as the intuitive, I can be pulled as the skeptic, I can be pulled as the academic. So I'm very strict on that, and I feel... Now, I have also 2 type 1 diabetics, so it's not as easy. My oldest, who's one of the diabetics, is 16. You know, that would be a prime thing, and she's into it. Her friends like me and think I'm some rock star. They're crazy. I pick them off. Go for it.
You are a rock star.
Now, are either of your children gifted in terms of psychic ability?
I feel out of the 4 of them, I would have to say at least 2 have showcased quite a bit over the years. The other 2 I don't know yet, just because they're just so into other things. You know, if you're not aware, you're just not going to pick up on stuff. But you know, at some different points, they've heard things in the house, and you know, and they've when I come home from an event or a function, they'll kind of pick up on stuff, and the energy, like residual, kind of lingers a bit. But there's definitely 2 that are very sensitive, but you know, because I grew up in this environment with a very famous father who helped pioneer the field, it's kind of, you know, this is who I am. You know, they used to call me Goth Mom. I am not freaking Elvira. I will not live this life. That is not me.
And the children that are sensitive, do you encourage them?
Well, I encourage them in the sense that if they hear something or they think something's happening and they question it, I say, well, why do you feel? Why do you feel that? I make them think about it because they're the ones that have experienced it, not me. So I try to get them to explain more about what the happening is, and then I kind of go from there with them.
Have you ever taught events involving indigo children?
No, I haven't. I mean, I know the subject matter very well. I've read a lot of articles on it, but no, I have not. No.
All right. Well, do you teach classes at all?
I teach at the events. I do lectures, and I teach the Holter method. I haven't gotten to the point of an academic teaching in a class. It's actually been a lot of people have asked me when I'll start teaching online, and I said I haven't even thought about that. I wonder if it's predestined. I don't know.
Well, I have a follow-up question, because I know when I go and I teach, it winds up being a question and answers. Most of the time I don't get to teach what I want to teach because it becomes question and answer. Do you find that that's what happens with you, you know, being the daughter of Hans Holzer? People just want to start asking you questions and you get pulled in different directions?
Yes, absolutely. And that's why if I were to actually have an actual class, it has to be structured on that. And I try to do that now anyways. I try to, but when you do the Q&As and people start talking, and of course you get lost in the flow, and you get off mark, and you miss the whole point of what you're doing. So for me, what I try to do is I try to create a bullet-pointed outline as to explaining who I am, where I came from, who my father was and still is, and why we're here today, and my purpose as to getting in front of everybody and why I'm speaking to them. And then after that, I say, does anybody have any questions to start, over here, start over there, and then go from there. But if you separate out the 2 instead of mixing it up, it just becomes crazy.
Yeah, that's the secret to a well-organized lecture. You introduce yourself, you state the intention, get through the points you want to make, and then you open them up for questions. And I think that's a very effective way and it also brings people into the process, because they start getting, rather than just asking questions willy-nilly, it gets them more involved in the actual flow of the information.
Exactly.
And exactly what you want to do. Just out of curiosity, your book, Growing Up Haunted. Tell us a little bit about that book. That was published back in, 2008?
Oh, wait, yeah.
Okay, tell us about that book.
Yeah, it was basically, I was compelled to tell my father and my mother's life story, and my mother's life story, because she married the Count of Russia, Count Alexander Buxhoveden, and so I found my family fascinating. I kind of just grew up one day and decided, as a writer, I should probably chronicle my parents. And so basically that's what it is. I interviewed my parents for the book and my grandmother. That's what it turned out to be. And it's a lot of history in there, and it's royal Russian blood on my mother's side. And then my father was the ghost hunter and the writer and so forth.
So are you a Contessa?
Yes.
Wow, Chris, we are in the midst of royalty tonight.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
My mother's Countess Catherine Buxhoveden, blue blood, and my grandfather was he was the count for real. Like, you want to talk about Dracula? That was his grandfather. You thought
Stop showing off.
Wow.
Sorry.
So you actually, do you have the title, Contessa?
I don't use it, no, but it's in the family verbiage. And there's a book, 2001, called Riga, Buxoven, and the town of Riga was founded by my family in the 1200s, you see. I'm like,
wow.
Yeah.
You know, my wife is royalty also.
Is she?
Yeah, she's Her Royal Highness of Maintenance.
I'm thinking how you said that. Ooh.
I've been called a real pain in the ass before, but that's a whole other story.
I forget about you. That's
It's out there. It's out there. I can't help it. I don't know. I try, but Anyway, why don't you tell us about your own career as a paranormal investigator?
Sure. Well, obviously, I kind of always did research. I just didn't do it in such a way that people see it today. I always asked questions. I was always curious. I thought cemeteries were a waste of space, and of course my father later came out and said, I found out, he said it's a waste of real estate properties, you dead bodies and grounds, I was just like, yeah, Daddy, you go, man, that's right. So I've always done it. I just didn't know growing up I would, I went to art school, went to FIT in Manhattan, I did that whole thing, and I ended up just always asking questions, and if somebody had a ghost story, I was like, ooh, and I'd get the pen and pad, pre-internet, and start writing up. So I said over the past 8 years, I've really buckled down, and I've done traveling, and I'm going to do a lot of traveling this year, really researching and hearing people and learning the history of areas and kind of further understanding how do I explain to them what's going on. Because I already know. I don't need to be proven anything, but I think there's still a lot of stories out there that need to be told. And I think a lot of spirits need help, if you will. I should say ghosts. And so my investigations are more about that, where I'm actually so focused, I created a team called the Haunted Soldier. And I have my teammate David Lawson, who works with me, who's an empath and brilliant, and he's a twin. So, of course, you hear stories about how the twins interact with each other, it blows your mind. So, there's all that kind of stuff. And it's now my team with other people coming together to continue the Holzer method. I've never done that before. I used to make fun of teams. I said, I will never get a T-shirt with bullet points and little letters in between. I still won't. You will not catch me wearing that.
I'm sorry, Vic, I don't mean to cut you off, but just for the sheer fact that she said that, when we do the sharing hotel, I'm bringing her a Second Sight Paranormal shirt.
That's right.
Oh, good Lord. Drinks to me, I'll wear it. Other than that,
it's interesting. Actually, I think that both Chris and I, in addition, would love to accompany Hunt with Holzer in the not too distant future when you're doing an investigation. We'd love to do that.
Absolutely.
You talk about the roles that different people play, and my role has become the role of working with spirit and helping spirit to resolve or rectify whatever word you want to use, and be able to get on with it.
Yeah.
And I take that as part of the healing practice that I have, and I really feel privileged and blessed to be able to do that kind of work. We're coming up to the top of the hour, and perhaps when we come back on the second half, I know we only have a half an hour with us, but on the second half, we'll talk a little bit more about what's good and bad about paranormal teams per se, and a little bit more about your work and about your books and the rest. So he's psychic medium Chris George. I am Victor the Voice Furman. Our wonderful guest tonight is Alexandra Holzer, someone who's going to become a personal friend of both of ours very rapidly because she's wonderful. And she's our kind of people, and I'm surprised that we haven't made this connection sooner. But you know what they say, everything in its own time. When it's meant to happen, it happens. And Alexandra, before we take the break for the second hour, please tell our listeners again how they can find out more about you and what you do.
Sure. They can find me on Facebook under Alexandra Holzer and on Twitter under Alexandra Holzer and then alexandraholzer.com.
Wonderful. And your books?
Is The Growing Up Haunted and Ghost Gal are the only two main ones out. I do have a kid's book, but she's not out yet. In the spring she'll be out, hopefully. So.
Wonderful. The book's a girl.
I know.
And I just want to say that you're listening to Second Sight Radio on the DTM Wicked Radio Network, video simulcast on TeslaWolfMedia.com, and we will be back for the second hour with Alexander Holster. Stay tuned, everybody.
Right. That was a great first album. You're an amazing guest, Alexander.
Oh, thank you. I'm just glad to be on.
paranormal,
ghosts,
spirits,
demons,
reincarnation,
past lives,
the afterlife,
divination,
exorcisms,
witchcraft.
the unseen,
He's psychic medium Chris George.
and he's Victor the Voice Fireman.
We are Second Sight Radio.
Paranormal,
Ghosts,
spirits,
demons,
reincarnation,
past lives,
the afterlife,
divination,
exorcisms,
witchcraft.
the unseen,
He's psychic medium Chris George.
and he's Victor the Voice Fireman.
We are Second Sight Radio.
Paranormal,
Ghosts,
spirits,
demons,
reincarnation,
past lives,
the afterlife,
divination,
exorcisms,
witchcraft.
the unseen,
He's psychic medium Chris George.
and he's Victor the Voice Fireman.
We are Second Sight Radio.
Chris George joined with Victor, the Voice Fireman, and the amazing Alexandra Holzer. First hour was fantastic. I'm so happy to have her as our guest and finally connecting with her. I've actually, I know you don't know this, Alexandra, but I tried to get you on the show like maybe 40 years ago.
What?
Yeah. It was about 4 years ago, and I don't know what happened, but it just didn't happen. And here it is 4 years later, you're here, and we're very happy about that. So, Victor, why don't you take it off, buddy?
Well, what I wanted to do is continue on the theme that we were talking about before the end of the first hour, and that's what your opinion is of the way, I know that we have some strong opinions concerning the way some of these so-called paranormal teams operate, but what's your opinion of them?
That says it all.
That's it.
MEH. Here's the thing. I think it's great that there's so many teams, organizations, and groups around the world that have an interest in the field, and many who have been doing this for 15, 20 plus years. You know, I think my problem and my concern lies with the newbies that are kind of doing the whole thing off the TV shows.
Wannabes.
Yeah, wannabes, newbies, hobbyists.
I refer to them as the shits and giggles teams.
Yeah, well, I say shit for sure. But, I get frustrated because they come blazing in, especially when you do an event and you see they want TV show people. And it's kind of like the entertainment field. It's taken over for that. And I have an issue with some of these types of teams where, they're just guns a-blazing, they're disrespectful to property, homeowners, establishments, very immature, bad behavior, fires starting, just stupid stuff like that. And then my other concern is the fact that they, everything is a contest. It's a pissing match on YouTube who can post the best video, and they've got the holy grail of evidence. And I just sit there like, no, you don't. You have more evidence than everybody else can get. I can walk through the woods and get an EVP. What does that make me?
Right.
I just
A witch?
a witch. My father would say, oh, I like this. Good man. My daughter, she should be the bitch. Well, he was a warlock, so
that's very cool. I find a lot of the young investigators now. I'm only 46, so I don't consider myself an old investigator.
No.
But there are a lot of when I say young, I mean the new investigators. They emulate guys like Zach Baggins and people like that, and I just think it's pathetic. I think that they're learning the wrong way, and I know a lot of what Zach does on his show, Ghost Adventures, is, I guess for ratings, for shock value. But, in reality, I think he's doing the paranormal community a huge disservice because he's showing the absolute wrong way to investigate. Everything he does, him and his team, is disrespectful to spirit. It's disrespectful completely and wholly and totally. And it frustrates me because, myself and Victor will do events, and we'll take a bunch of people to a haunted location like Daily Seaton Psychiatric Hospital, and we'll get like 40 people, and they all want to be Zach Baggins. And I have to tell them, listen, if that's how you're going to do things, I'm not the right guy to do it with because I won't accept it, and you got to go, And I just find that so many people are going down that route, that path of investigating, and it's the wrong way, and it bothers me. It bothers me a lot.
And additionally, the situation is if you're going to a public investigation, that's one thing. But if someone calls you into their home, they're in trouble. They're afraid. They're not understanding what's going on. If there are children involved, they're definitely afraid. And by having a team of that nature go in and run around trying to find evidence rather than trying to find the truth as to what is actually happening in the home, and then really leaving without resolving the situation, they're doing a tremendous disservice to the people who call them in. It's all about doing the right thing for people who are families, to leave them in a situation where they bring them from fear to understanding, make them comfortable in their homes again, and dispel what's really going on. And these, a lot of these kids aren't capable of handling that.
No, and again, I worked with Zach twice, and I know he tries to come off as a caring person for spirit, and he says certain things, and he'll wear glasses one day, or I don't, to me, it's a lot of it is, perhaps there is caring there, perhaps he really does, and who are we to judge and say that? But I think when you look at the shows which are edited, I believe he's in charge of, he's one of the EPs on it. He tells how to edit it as well, and he went to film school. Don't forget. So, it just kind of gives off the wrong message, and I feel like it's not, it just becomes the end all be all. And I wish that people would be a lot more intelligent on what they see and how they understand what they're watching versus the reality of what it really is on a casework and what you're dealing with. And again, it is for shock value and entertainment. And if you look, I've gotten so many casting calls, and I read the sheets, and I'm just like, really? Are you kidding? No, I would never do that.
Yep.
It to me, and when you see that, and you have the proof and the fact that this is how they do these shows, and then you have those people out there that have longevity and are lucky, it loses sight of the original starting point. So perhaps he started out with good intentions, but it's certainly not leading him that way.
Exactly, and I just want to say, to follow that up, I've been contacted by, shows to producers to do shows, and I did a Skype interview. They wanted the godfather of psychic mediums. They wanted me in my suit, and they wanted me to do a reading on Skype and, be the godfather of psychic mediums. And I did it, and they loved me, and they wanted to give me a show. And you know what they told me? We want you to be more Italian. We want you to be more Brooklyn. I said, no, this is who I am. And, this is it. And they were like, well, we want something else. I said, well, you want a caricature of who I am? I said, I won't do that. I'm sorry. And I walk away, because I think it's going on. I think it's making a mockery. It's making a mockery of who I am and what I do in the field, and I won't do that. I'll never do that, ever.
Well, that's what I said. I mean, I had Animal Planet came after me, and I said, Animal effing Planet, what? I said, what the hell? Where am I fitting in? Well, I do save animals. I don't eat them. I could have something going here for me. But, it's just weird stuff like that. And, it's like, I think anybody who is good in the field, that's proven themselves, that has a good reputation, and they do good work, I don't understand a lot of these. To me, it's a cattle casting call, and it's cookie cutters. And I think that's what it comes down to. And it's like, if you're going to stand in line with Sci-Fi Network and say, "Oh, pick me like Shrek and the donkey," go ahead. You know what I mean? If you're meant to be that well known and to have the visibility, it's going to happen anyway. It's just a question of how, when, and where. But to just say, I'm going to answer this and then sign a 10-page contract and basically pay $1,200 for what? It's
Absolutely.
like, you're going to sell your soul to the devil in that sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was called to do a show a few years ago. It was a show on reality TV on Bravo called The Wedding Concierge. And the episode was The Haunted Nursery. And this couple that was getting married believed that the nursery in the home they just built was haunted. And we went there. And there was absolutely nothing. And I ended up doing a blessing for them, bless the nursery, bless the couple, and bless her belly. And what happened was they had asked us to do certain things. They said, I want you to react as if there's something there. I said, I'm not going to do that. It's not the truth. And they ended up using some of the stuff, but they brought somebody else in who pandered to what they wanted, and that was the essence of what they showed rather than showing the truth.
You see? And it's like, okay, so I'm going to jump up like a clown and be what you want me to be, although this is what I am. So again, we talked about the few shows that are out there, the few specials that are out there and so forth, are really not showing anything. Like, all I could do in search of was Leonard freaking Nimoy and do it so well and be so classy and so intelligent. And, well, maybe he might have cracked a joke, but I don't think people got it because he had dry humor. I don't. I'm telling you, the guy had no. But the point being was he was on one of the first reality shows in quite a bit, and he did great with it. So don't tell me that you can't be who you are and make it work. That's
exactly.
Because
Absolutely. And you know what? The message of the positive, of doing the right thing, of helping people, I believe is just as important a message as the entertainment value.
Exactly. The balance of the two, and any good production company and editing and network would see the value in that and make it work. I just don't see why it's got to be what it's been, which is just like a robotic cookie-cutter system of, nope, we need the guy in the black shirt and the mohawk, and he's got to, like, run and say, what was that? What is this?
I'd scream like a girl.
Right. And maybe look a little bit like one, too. I don't know. But it's like, I don't know. Somebody shoot me. But I don't get it.
Oh, my God. Alexander, you're awesome. I got to tell you. I love how you're on the show.
No, she's now in our top 10, Chris, for sure.
Absolutely. We got to get her on the Paranormal Lounge next.
Absolutely. Alexander, so what fascinates you most about the paranormal?
Let's see. I think how there's so many types of happenings in the field, from humanoids to other worlds and UFOs. There's such a vast array of subject matters. That's what fascinates me. I'm interested in, cryptology. I'm interested in ancient aliens. There's just so much that I sit there and I wonder, my God, we're not alone. And then I wonder about angels. I wonder about, do demons exist, and what does that mean? And the ghost, to me, is the least of my issue. I have to tell you something. The ghosts are nothing. I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever, go over there, you're fine. But, I'm like, the other stuff, like if a black-eyed kid showed up at my door, I'd be like,
It's interesting to talk about aliens and ancient aliens and UFO phenomena. I had a very revealing experience about 3 years ago. I was attending the FIONs, the Friends of the Institute of Noetic Sciences, had a lecture in Manhattan, and Whitley Strieber and his wife Anne were the headline speakers. And Anne Strieber mentioned that after Whitley had published Communion, they had received 250,000 letters over the year after it was published. And she basically, they had put them away, and that a few years ago, she started taking them out and going through them, cataloging them. And that 80% of the letters related that someone who had either a UFO contact or sighting experience also had what they considered to be a paranormal experience in terms of contacting someone who had passed, either just before or just after. So the connection was very interesting, and what it brought back in my mind, which I didn't share before when I talked about seeing my grandfather, because I did not make the psychic connection to this event years ago, was that the day after, the night after I had the visitation by my grandfather when he transitioned, I woke up about 2 o'clock in the morning, went to the window, looked up in the sky, and I saw my first conscious, at least, UFOs, triangular-shaped objects, several of them that looked like it looked like a patchwork quilt of the sky being rearranged. And I didn't connect the two until she made that statement. So, yeah, the connection there is very strong.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, he's seen many more UFOs, but they were all LSD related. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
Hey, Alexander, I just want to say something. There's one thing. Chris is not afraid of anything. He's not afraid of humans. He's not afraid of spirit. He's not afraid of demons. He can't deal with the concept of an alien. If an alien were to come up to him, he'd scream like a girl and run away.
I would be like a little girl. I would be like a little bitch. I'd be screaming, ah! I could not handle it, Alexander. You know, Joe Montaldo, who used to be the owner of the old network we were on, told me that he truly believes that anybody who is really psychic has been abducted or has been contacted by aliens. Okay? And I've had lost time and all that other stuff that we could talk about on another show. And just the concept of being taken by an alien and probed and all that other crap scares the shit out of me. I've done over 90 exorcisms. I love it. I live for it. These look aliens to me, and it's just out of my league. I'm sorry, I can't do it.
I have to agree with you. I'm in the same boat with you. I've heard stories like that, and I just sit there and I think, listen, dude, you take me off the road and put me in another car or put me on the bus, I might freak out a bit because I shouldn't be doing that. I'm on my path to do whatever, and you're going to move me out of my situation, driving around and moving around. But if you take me off this freaking planet, you and me and you, we're going to have a throwdown.
I'm telling you, and I could throw down with the bus to them.
That ain't happening. I say with Grandpa's tea.
Yeah, no, it's not for me either. We're on the same page with that for sure.
Oh, yeah, totally not.
Oh, okay, so this is scary stuff here, to me, all right? But I would like to know, what has been your most frightening or most significant experience in the paranormal?
Watching my father get up in the morning making a cup of coffee before he combs his hair. He's going to smack me. I'm telling you, I'm going to get hit on. I would say, from what age? From like as an adult now, or from when I was younger?
As an adult, probably as an adult.
Yeah.
I would say I went down south. I went to Georgia, and with the whole thing down there, obviously it was heavy with the stories of slavery and what went on down there. So it was a very heavy feeling, a very thick feeling, and I got pushed a lot. I got tapped on my shoulder a lot, pushed and prodded, and felt like I wasn't wanted in the room. And it made me uneasy because I'm like, hey, I'm a really nice person. I'm really out, and I'm a good person. I'm here to help. Why am I being pushed around like that? Why am I being bullied? And it kind of, it wasn't so much that it was frightening because, of course, it was just a lot of it. Then I got sick, and it didn't feel good. And I felt like I had no control. And that's what was frightening. when you start to feel like you lose control in your own environment because it's so haunted and it's so filled with so much grief and sadness and death and loss, you feel like you're going to pass out, and I couldn't catch my breath. I didn't feel good. I felt like I am going down. And that was very frightening to me because I was in between their world and my world, and I didn't know how to separate the two.
And what did you learn from that experience?
Not to go back.
Yeah. You stick your finger into the electric socket and you get a shock. You don't do it again, right?
Exactly.
I think this is why I'm mentally ill with it, because she says she doesn't go back. Me, we went to the Kreischer Mansion. We got thrown across the room. 2 doors got thrown through a door. And what did we do? 3 months later, we went right back.
And I got shot in the back 4 times.
Right, you got shot in the back 4 times. And Tom Gillespie got goose from behind with the gay spirit. I mean, and we keep going back. Go figure.
I'll tell you what. I'll go with you if you walk in front of me.
No, I'll do it. Now, listen, this is what I love to do. The more haunted, the better. I love it. I don't get scared. I love it. You know why? Even if it's something scary or negative, if you go into it with a positive attitude and, and respectful, respect is the biggest thing for me. Everybody makes, jokes, the Godfather of Psychic Medium, they'll give you a reading you can't refuse. That's true, but to me, being the Godfather of Psychic Mediums is about respect. I am so into showing spirit respect that when I see somebody not showing respect, it really bothers me. Yeah. So as long as you show respect, I think you'll be fine, despite what's going on in the home or the place that you're at.
My philosophy is we have more to fear from the living than we do from the dead.
Oh yeah. The living is a pain in the neck, and a vampire would tell you that right away. They'd rather you go.
Absolutely. We got 2 minutes to the bottom of the hour. Can you stay with us, or do you have to run?
I can wait a couple minutes.
Okay, great. Very good.
I'm loving this.
So then my question to you is, what do you see as the future of paranormal investigation?
Oy vey. Okay. The future that I see is coming up with a device, if you will, for argument's sake. We can in real time their side and really get down to nitty-gritty of solving many cases, crime cases, murder cases, getting the guys, the bad guys, kind of thing, through technology that helps the medium on the case to really pinpoint who did what. I want to see it further to be used to help get bad people of the living that kill people. I mean, I'm more the focus point is finding out what happens when we die, blah, blah, blah. We're not going to know until we get there, for the most part. I want that kind of equipment developed because it'll help with crime and so forth. The other part of it is I see us moving forward is having more empathy and compassion for the other side and more going back into what we used to have, the spiritual movement.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that we are slowly headed towards back into a spiritual revolution and movement, and I'd like to see that because it will calm everything. Everything is just busting down doors and laser lights and, show yourself stuff. I mean, I see it going in the opposite direction, and having more of an understanding of we're not here for very long, and what does that mean,
Do you see quantum physics come into play?
Well, it has been, as you know, but I think more, as we get more advanced scientifically, I think it will answer a lot of questions, and I'm very fascinated with wormholes and vortexes and so forth, but I think that it will scientifically give us an edge, a peek into where we potentially are going, and I think that it will answer a lot of questions, but I don't think it's going to be the end-all be-all.
Not to change the subject, but I just got an inbox from somebody who's listening to the show. Should I mention his name? I probably should. Okay, it's my friend Tom, and he wants to know, Alexander, if you're married, because he said that listening to you is just driving him crazy, and he wants to know if you're married.
I don't answer any personal questions, sorry.
There you go.
I don't know whether she's married or not, but I hope Jackie's listening to the show right now.
Yeah, Tom's in trouble now.
He's in big trouble if Jackie's listening right.
All right, so Alexander, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Ghost Gal series of books?
Yes, that would be fabulous. Well, Ghost Gal, basically, it's written by Bobby Nash, who is down south in Georgia. He's a wonderful neo-pulp writer. He's won some awards. And our publisher actually is partnered up with Sequential Press, which is with Dark Horse Comics, so we're in very good hands. And it's basically set in the 1960s in Manhattan, where my father and I work together, and I'm engaged to a lawyer, and, of course, I am who I am. And there's a lot of seedy characters. We're dealing with heaven, we're dealing with hell, and these characters are birthed from both areas. And, you've got the castle in there, you've got revenge, you've got love. You have a love triangle between non-humans and Ghost Gal in the middle. It's really fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And but it's technically a YA fiction novel, but it really, we're finding with all the reviews that we've had, a lot of grown-ups are loving it. And so the second book is being started, I believe, this spring, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to add in some illustrations in there, because Michael Hudson, who's the publisher, does a lot of the comics and stuff. And like I said, he works with Dark Horse Comics. So there's a lot of potential. There's an amazing artist, Diana Lito, who does Sesame Street and My Little Pony, to potentially commission her to actually put my father and I in character form.
Wow.
In the second Ghost Gal book, which is called A Haunting We Will Go. So
cool.
I like that.
Very good.
Get better.
Absolutely.
We'll promote the hell out of it.
And Alexandra, where can our listeners get your books and your dad's books and find out more about you?
Oh, about me. Woo-hoo. They just need to go online like everybody does today. Just Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, all the offshoot publishers, the bookstores. I mean, there's like 20 million. Albrecht, they're like brick and mortar. They're everywhere. So my father's stuff is still out there. We converted a lot of his work into digital. It's called the Hustles or Digital Collection by Crossroads Press. They're also, I think, down a bit south, and that's also online. So you can actually start getting digital and some audio. And then, of course, traditionally, a lot of his books are still in print. But the Ghost book, and that's a really good one to get. The big Ghost one is like the Bible.
And as we say every week, please go to your local brick-and-mortar bookstore and support them and say, I want all of the works.
That's right.
Hans Holzer and Alexandra Holzer. And if you don't have them in stock, order them, because my friends and I are going to come in here and buy them from you.
That's right. There you go.
Absolutely.
Well, I guess you have to go now, Alexandra.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it sucks. I'm having a great time here. But we could definitely do this again.
Absolutely. We have so much more to talk about, and you are our new best friend, Alexandra. I just want to let you know right now.
I love you both very much. Send me a thing that I know you're on Facebook, and I think I'm at 4999 right now would be a good time. You can send it.
I just did it and it went through, so all you have to do is accept it.
Yes, sir. I'm still with it.
All right. All right. Excellent.
Well, thank you so much for being with us.
Alexander, I just want to tell you that when I first met Chris, I dubbed him the godfather of psychic mediums. He gives you a reading you can't refuse, and he dubbed me his consigliere. So that's who we are.
That's all the world is.
You have no idea, Alexander. You have no idea.
Oh, my God.
But, again, I know you have to leave, so I just want to thank you one last time for being our guest tonight. You were fantastic, and I really can't wait to have you on again.
Well, thank you both for having me. Love you both, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you, Alexander. Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow,
sweetheart. What a sweetheart she is.
Oh, man, she was awesome. I really liked her a lot.
Why didn't we meet her, on a friendship basis 4 years ago? That would have been awesome.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. I mean, I met her, I believe, 2 months before her father passed away, and she was so nice to me, and I guess she was dating somebody at the time, and he was also, I don't know what their situation is now, but he was very nice as well, and, one thing that they said to me that really just blew my mind, Victor, and I didn't get a chance to bring it up on the show, was that they said that Hans had written, I think it was either 4 or 6 books that he never had published.
Mm.
And the reason he never had it published was, you ready for this? Because he thought it was too dangerous for the world to see the information that he had put on paper.
Wow, I wish we had asked her about that.
and I wanted to, but I just figured that maybe that was something that was a little bit too personal. Maybe it was something that she, I don't know.
This woman is totally open, and I think she would have answered it willingly. We'll save it for the next interview.
Yeah, could you imagine that for someone like Tom Cole, who's written 120 books?
Oh, more than that. Somewhere between 120 and 140.
Okay, that's a ridiculous amount of books.
Absolutely.
Okay, and for him to say that, he has between 4 and 6 books written that he truly feels exactly for the world to see. That's the word. Too dangerous for the world to see. If the wrong people get their hands on this information, it could be catastrophic. That's what was told to me, which, here I am sitting there. I'm a young psychic medium, just coming into my own, and I'm in the room with the amazing Hans Holz. I'm doing hands-on healing with him as I'm being spoken to by Alexandra and her boyfriend at the time. And I was just blown away by just the fact that I was there doing hands-on healing with Hans Holz. I mean, he gets to do that.
We were blessed to be in his presence, and I think we're both blessed now to have Alexandra as a new friend, and I think that's going to be wonderful.
I agree. So,
Chris, before we go further, I just want to ask Larry, real fast, how's our video quality? Because I just got a message that we had poor quality. Is our video to you okay?
Video looks great to me, and what's going out is a full HD signal.
Okay, so there's something weird with Skype tonight. I think that's what it was going on. We couldn't get out the video.
Earlier tonight, it took a really long time to get to, and I really wish we would have had her video feed up, because it would have been amazing. It would have been that much better, I think.
Well, hopefully when we get to the Paranormal Lounge, what I'll do is I'll call her in advance and see if we can't get the video going and see what we can do to tweak it for her. So.
Okay.
Very good.
And we'll be available before for Paranormal Lounge as well, so we'll be available earlier, too, if we need to help.
Great, thank you.
Okay, then.
No problem.
So Vic, should I do my Church of Second Sight?
Yeah, let's do the Church of Second Sight, because you've got one and I've got a mini one, too.
Okay, well, something really interesting happened yesterday. I get an email from somebody who wasn't on Facebook, who's been listening to Second Sight since the beginning. Like, we're talking 5 years now, okay? And somebody who was in Louisiana, like I said, not on Facebook, doesn't believe in Facebook, so he emailed me, and he said, I've been listening to you for 5 years. I think the change you made bringing Victor in, really just set you guys apart from everyone else, which I thought was very nice of him to say. And he said that he's going through some stuff, and he's very depressed, and, he felt such a connection to me that, he needed to just email me and see if I would, have any time to talk to him. He told me that he had no money, that he couldn't pay me for a reading, but he felt so depressed, and he really felt like I was the only person he could talk to. So I emailed him back. I said, this is my phone number, call me. He called me, and first of all, he couldn't have been more of a gentleman. He couldn't have been more complimentary to me, to you, and to Second Sight. Absolutely loves us, okay? And he went on to tell me about his life. And, I was on the phone with him for maybe 40 minutes, half hour, 40 minutes, and, and I know he's listening now, and he told me I could talk about this without saying his name. And he was saying how he's so depressed, and, life has been hard for him and whatnot, and he told me a bunch of other things that have been going on in his life, which is pretty crazy stuff, and I just talked to him. It wasn't psychic. It was, it wasn't about giving him a psychic reading. It was about talking to him, about being a friend, about being somebody who, something that resonates with me with you, Victor, is when you say you care for somebody, it's about listening. Okay? It's not so much about talking, it's about listening. And that's what I did. I listened. And then when it was time to talk, I did. And we had this great conversation, and before he hung up the phone with me, he said, he told me, I wanted you to know that I was going to kill myself today. And just the fact that you were nice enough to take time and talk to me, which I think is amazing, because I know you're a busy man. This is what he's saying to me. He said, you just blew me away with your kindness. And, that you hear somebody say that they were about to kill themselves, and just because you spoke to them, and maybe gave them some guidance and some kind words and just an ear and a shoulder, it went a long way with this man, and I was very grateful that he actually called me and I was able to help him. And the one thing he said to me before he hung up, which is, like I wrote on Facebook yesterday, will be the last line of my book. He said to me, Chris, you don't have to be famous to be amazing. He said, what you did for me today was just amazing. And that's going to be my last line in my book. And I just wanted to say, he's right. It's not about being famous. Everyone knows I want to be on television and I want to have my own show and whatnot, and something, maybe a paranormal investigating show with you and Tom or whatever it is. And people know that. But in the end, if you're helping people, and what does it matter if you're famous or not? You're giving back to people who need it. And to me, it just kind of put things in perspective for me yesterday. And I felt really grateful to speak to the gentleman, and I'm happy. Thank you. So that's what I want to say there.
You know something? It's so humbling when people reach out to you and share this type of a message. I don't make them public because most people do this in private, but I've gotten messages from people that I don't even know.
Right.
And they said 4 years ago, 5 years ago on Facebook, I wrote something to you. I was in a bad way, and you gave me some advice, and that advice changed my life, and I'm forever grateful. And I don't even remember who the person is. And that's just about it. It's about the mark of the true healer is to, number one, if it's counseling, to listen. If there's any real advice that comes to us, either through intelligence or spirit, to share what's appropriate with that person, and just let it go, to give the healing, and then let it go without attachment to it. Even forget about it. Because ultimately, that's the highest form of love. The highest form of compassion is to give what you have to give and just let it go.
I agree with that. But, what amazed me most about the whole thing yesterday was how I felt afterwards. It was about making this gentleman feel better about himself, about helping him through his problems. Now, I really don't have problems, per se, but after talking to him, I feel better about me. And, he might have gotten a healing out of it. In fact, I know he got a healing out of it. You know what? I did too. And I just think that that's pretty amazing.
That's the ultimate part of healing, is that as we heal, we're healing ourselves. And, there's my favorite song of Moody Blues Question, which I talk about all the time. There's a line there that says, when you stop and think about it, you won't believe it's true, that all the love you've been giving has all been meant for you. And it really is. We're giving out that which we choose for ourselves. And that is the highest form of healing, because you're giving it from the heart, you're giving it from love. I just want to share in my little segment, as our listeners know, last Saturday was my birthday. I've been walking this planet for 62 years in this incarnation. I don't know. I won't detail other incarnations, because then you find out how really old I am, because I'm really old. I'm an old soul. But I just shared a few of the things that I learned. By the way, I shared on Facebook for our listeners who don't know me on Facebook that I came into the world at 3:30 p.m. on a Saturday, January 17th, 62 years ago, a world I'm sure that I had visited many times before. And the legend is that when the doctor slapped my tiny ass, instead of crying, I laughed. And I haven't stopped laughing ever since. But I've learned a thing or two in this current odyssey, and if I wanted to share the most important of these with the people I love, and quite frankly, Chris, you're on the top of the list along with everyone else who I consider to be my personal family, and you're part of that family, here's what I would share. If something makes you sad or angry, process it, learn from it, and then let it go. Walk away. Don't hold on to it, because it's not worth holding on to. Nothing has ever been as difficult in reality as I've preconceived in my imagination. I've blown things out of proportion in my mind only to find that the solutions were actually very simple and very easy. Hold those you love close and those you do not love closer, because the lessons you learn from the people you don't love will teach you the most about you. Look for the highest purpose in everything. And eventually, you may not see it at first, but as you look for it, you're going to find the highest purpose in everything. And ultimately, it's all about love. And I thank all of the great teachers who taught me that, and most of them were women.
Nice. I love that, Victor.
Thank you.
You're a good man.
You're a good man.
I don't care what people say about you.
I'm a fur man.
You're a fur man. Yes, you are. So Victor, what I'm going to talk about, we've been talking about these pay-per-views and whatnot, and, we want to do a pay-per-view in the lounge, which is harder to come by than I expected. We will be doing the live seance pay-per-view, which I'm looking forward to, and we will be doing a live investigation pay-per-view. I want to talk a little bit about the Shanley Hotel, because that's where we're going to do this investigation. And maybe you could let the people know a little bit about the place, and I'll add in some stuff as well, because I've been there 4 times.
Well, how do I put this politely? What was the Shanley Hotel? The Shanley Hotel was a bordello. And for those who don't know the word bordello, it's basically a house of ill repute. And for those who don't understand the house of ill repute, hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. Just waving to Mom. Walking behind you over there. For those who don't understand the word a house of ill repute, we are talking about a house of prostitution.
Well, that was only part of it, though, because there was in the Shanley Hotel, there is the bordello, which is upstairs. I think it's 1, 2, 3, it's 4 rooms. Then downstairs is the gentleman's quarters, which is a huge room with, I want to say, either 6 or 8 queen-size beds. And on the second floor, there's a bunch of really nice rooms that are all very haunted. We've had women get, felt up in bed. One girl, I don't know if you remember Maury. Do you remember Maury, that sweet girl that used to come to the investigation?
Yes.
Anyway,
yes.
Very, very, very sweet girl. Anyway, she was in a room, and there was 2. Her and another girl were sleeping in one bed, and not that they were doing it; they were just sleeping in the bed. And she said that the spirit was all over her to the point where she didn't feel threatened by it, but she said she felt like she had to smoke a cigarette afterwards, and she doesn't smoke. True story. And then another time, Kathy, who's always in our chat room, who was a very good friend of myself and Victor. She was on a bed with her mother, just sitting there talking, and the bed lifted off the ground with them on it. Okay? They screamed, which I think was hysterical, because Kathy really not a screamer. I thought that was pretty funny. So many things have happened at that place. People who are not psychic, people who would not consider themselves gifted at all. It's an amazing place. It's beautiful. On the outside, it looks like a run-down kind of place. But then when you walk in, it's like you're stepping into another time. It's like you're stepping into what would you say, like the late 1800s?
Yeah, the gay 90s.
It was beautiful. And the place is just stunning. And you have a great feel to the place. It's not like it's a scary haunted hotel. It's just a haunted hotel. And there are hundreds and hundreds of spirits. And you can have, 20 different little investigations going on all over this hotel, and everybody will get evidence. It's that kind of place.
So it's really the kind of trip that's good for both beginners and experienced investigators.
Oh, yeah, because the beginners will be hooked. Anybody who's a beginner who goes to the Shanley Hotel will be hooked forever. That's a fact.
And now I mention the fact that beginners who come with us will learn how professionals operate.
And that's another fact. And I think that's more important as far as I'm concerned, because like we were talking with Alexandra, a lot of these young people coming into the paranormal field, they emulate the wrong people. They emulate what they see. And what you see out on television really isn't what paranormal investigating is about. I don't care who you are, what you think. I'll debate you on it on this point, forever.
But, I'll tell you, to her credit, she said, we really can't judge anyone. Yeah. Because we don't know what they're actually doing there and why they're doing it and what their motivation is. It is what it is. We don't have to like what they do. We don't have to emulate what they do. But we really, on a personal level, I can't judge anyone. I agree with her.
No, but I agree with her as well. We talk about Zach all the time because he's the one who's out there. The truth is, I've heard he's a really great guy, in real life. Just as a paranormal investigator, I think I just think what he does is poor. I don't think it's a true depiction of what we do as investigators. I think what he does makes a mockery of what we do. I feel that way. Now, he might be a great person. I know a lot of people who are awesome people, but they suck at what they do. It doesn't make them it doesn't mean that they're a bad person. They're good people, and I'm sure they know as well.
What people have to understand is that most of the paranormal television programming is for entertainment and ratings. It's not for the truth.
Yeah. And you're right about that. But like you said, if you come to the Shammy Hotel with us, you're going to learn the right way to do things.
Absolutely.
And I don't want people to think that because we're saying that the way they do it on television is wrong, that, what we do, you're going to have fun, investigating. We have a good time when we investigate. We do it seriously, but we have fun. And what I've learned over the years, of all my years of investigating, is have fun. Be respectful, be
Absolutely.
nice, And what happens is, Victor and I and Tom and everybody else on the team, we could be doing an investigation at the Shammy Hotel and get amazing evidence. Why? Because we're very, very respectful to spirit. When you get another group that maybe isn't so respectful, or, they're brash and they just go on it the wrong way. And at the end of the night, they'll feel like, wow, this place really sucks. We got no evidence. And we'll be like, oh, really? We'll check out all this evidence we got. Why do you think that is?
Intention.
Spirit. Intention. Spirit resonates with the way you treat them. If we're going to be nice to the spirit, chances are, especially if it's a place that's very haunted, they're going to interact with you. If you're asking them, you know what? They'll tell you, kiss my hands. I'm not giving you no evidence. We'll go with the team that's giving, that's showing us respect. And that's what it's going to be. So now, I don't know exactly when this investigation is going to happen. I'm fairly certain it's going to be April. It will be an overnight investigation. I believe it's $75 a person. With that, you get the room. You get, they have coffee and snacks all day and all night, and breakfast in the morning.
What about the girls in the dresses from the 1890s? Do they show up in the rooms also?
No, maybe in spirit, which would be a good thing for us fellas. But yeah.
Actually, this will become. In all honesty, Chris is a teacher. My nature is to be a teacher. I'm a teacher by nature, and if you come to this event, not only will you learn something, not only will you have fun, but this will be the college of paranormal knowledge for you.
I like that, and I agree with that. It's going to be a great event, and I'm excited about it. Every time we do an event like this, I get excited.
Absolutely.
I'm more excited about this because, here we are on two new networks, DTM Wicked and Tesla Wolf Media, and, we're proud to be here, and we have new listeners. I mean, obviously we've brought listeners with us from our old network, but we have a lot of new listeners. And, when we do events and we get to actually interact with our listeners, that's awesome. I love meeting our listeners. We have a good time. We get great pictures. We get great video. We get to know these people. Now they know us by our voice, and now on Tesla they get to see our faces and how we are and whatnot. But when you meet somebody in person, it's a whole different thing. And it's nice, and we have a good time, and we recommend it. So,
and Chris, the fact that we're both cannibals, we love to both meet our listeners and to eat our listeners. And I'll bring the cauldron with the carrots and the onions and the potatoes, and you bring the seasonings, okay?
Yeah, listen, if I'm eating this, you better be hot. Anyway, can I just go there?
Oh, boy. Here we go. And on that note, I just want to talk about our gemstone of the week. We actually have time for a gemstone this week. And I'm bringing this gemstone in because, as our listeners know, I've been dealing with a little bit of a heart issue. It's not life-threatening at all. Something that I have to work on, and I'm working on it, and I'm honoring it. And the gemstone that I bring to my heart for this purpose is rose quartz. Rose quartz is often called the love stone. Its energetic hallmark is that of unconditional love that opens the heart chakra, which basically is what I have to do. I have to open that heart chakra, not to others, because it's always open to others. I have to open it to me. This makes rose quartz a stone for every type of love: self-love, family love, platonic, romantic, and unconditional. As a variety of quartz, rose quartz has high energy, and the strong energy can enhance love in virtually any situation. The stone of unconditional love that opens the heart chakra to all forms of love, its high energy and high vibration, is a very happy and loving stone. In psychic and spiritual realms, rose quartz is often used to attract love for spells and charms. It's also used to ease the process of transition and dying and make the transition gentle and surrounded by the unconditional love of the divine. Rose quartz can also be helpful for dream recall and dream work. It raises self-esteem and a strong sense of self-worth. Its loving energies teach us to apply this love to ourselves and thereby find ourselves worthy. And that's our gemstone of the week, rose quartz.
Outstanding, but it's been a while since we've been able to do a gemstone because our guests have just pretty much taken up to 2 hours, which is great. I would rather interview our guests and do a gemstone.
And speaking of guests, next week Our guest is a gentleman by the name of Jason Miller. He's devoted the last 23 years to traveling the globe and studying practical magic in its many forms. He's the author of Protection and Reversal Magic, The Sorcerer's Secrets, and The Financial Sorcery, and he also runs the Strategic Sorcery Training course, and Strategic Sorcery blog. And he's the author of this book, Sex, Sorcery, and Spirit. And that's what you're going to love, Chris. Sex, Sorcery, and Spirit. Jason Miller, our guest next week.
Yeah, we're going to have a good time with this show. I actually have the book. I haven't had a chance to look through it yet, but I'll do that, and it's going to be a good show. Listen, Victor, did you ever remember a bad show?
Yes.
When?
One bad show. You know who I'm talking about.
Who, that son of a bitch that I threw off the air?
The guest that you threw off the air. That was our one bad show.
That was on the other network. So, but listen, you know what? He really was a moron.
He was an arrogant bastard. There's no question about it.
Listen, anybody, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, there was a guy, I think his name was Dick, if I remember right. He was a dick. But he was being so disrespectful to Victor the Voice Firm, and I couldn't believe it. It was driving me freaking insane. I was biting my tongue because, Victor...
What happened was there was a connection issue in the beginning, and we lost Chris for about 6 or 7 minutes. So I was basically talking to the guy and starting to get him, let's face it, when we bring people on, we don't have any other commercials in the show. We're here to promote our guests, their books, their work, whatever it is. They benefit from being on our show.
That's right.
Most of them do. And so this guy had a brand new book. We were going to promote the hell out of it. And he started insulting me. And I'm like the sweetest person in the entire universe.
Let me interject here. Yeah, they're insulting him, and I was biting my tongue because I just see Peter and Victor say, Chris, you got to be nice to the guests. Chris, you got to be nice to the guests. And I just wanted to rip this son of a bitch's throat out. Go ahead, Victor.
So in any event, Chris finally got on and then started asking questions, and the guy started insulting Chris, and Chris said, that's it. You're out of here. And the guy said, okay, and he hung up, and that was the end of the interview.
Actually, it was more said than that. But
yeah, there was more said than that, but we're on a different network now. We're not going to bring that back up again.
Yeah. Anyway, listen, we only have a minute left, Victor, so why don't we say goodbye? The time just flies, and I need more time, Victor. I need more time.
No, we don't.
All right, people, listen, we're here every week making the unbelievable believable. May the spirits guide you. Thank you, and good night.
Good night, everybody, and thanks.